high bed on takeoff. And then what a display of the pound-weight ratio of this one-off Pitts S2S special as Rich Goodwin heads into the vertical. Not just the standard Lycoming engine at his disposal, but also two small gas turbines. Up he goes into a spiral tower, and as he tops out at about 2,200 feet, he then descends through a flat spin, pulling out at around 1,300 feet, accelerating back down onto the line. It's just so incongruous to have a biplane with some jet noise associated with it. Those engines, a pair of Lynx gas turbines of about 300 pounds thrust each, as he snap rolls up and away, pulling out inverted. They join the Lycoming 0540 engine, which gives him about 300 horsepower. And he really does use all of it in this display. Here he is, coming round in an inverted flat turn, and then a series of what he calls shoulder rolls, pulling out onto the display centre point, heading directly in. Pulling up into negative G rolls, very, very uncomfortable for Rich. All the blood rushing to his head as he does that, and recovering back onto the B axis. Before pulling out onto the main A axis once again. Again, he is inverted for a time, and then pushes again, experiencing on a very uncomfortable negative G into a partial outside loop with rolls on the down line. Quite apart from the addition of the gas turbine engines, this is a very heavily modified Pitts special. Particularly you'll notice the wing and tail profiles are very different. That wing helping afford the quite outstanding motor roll that Rich has at his disposal. Rolling multiple times in the vertical. Pushing up initially, before pulling through at the top. You can hear the noise of the two gas turbines there. Slowing the pace briefly, at least giving the piston engine a chance to cool down for a moment. Rich is a former RAF pilot, as indeed was his late father Ken, from whom he no doubt developed a love of display flying. Ken's father never flew anything quite like this, and nor has anyone else. Climbing snap rolls, everything inverted, and then pulling through. And next up I expect him to come in for a barrel roll with more snap rolls at the apex. In fact, he's gone for the reducing energy barrel roll there. Into a very tight half loop. And some negative shoulder rolls. There he is, regaining an upright position. And again, he's slowing down briefly here and then pulling hard back on the ascent. And it's one that was first really seen at air displays in the early 1990s when Soviet Union started displaying the Sukhoi jet fighter at air shows. Into a maximum rate climbing spiral. It took Rich and several colleagues who were instrumental in the engineering behind this aeroplane 4 years to come up with this unique jet pit. Total thrust for all three engines, 1,700 pounds. The aircraft weighs just 1,550 pounds. Out of a flat spin there. And I now expect him to come in for initially a 3-point hesitation roll, and he'll be rolling into a knife edge pass. Back on the display line, 1 point. Inverted. 2 points. And then a turn away. More shoulder rolls on the outbound leg. This aircraft, incidentally, very green. The two ATM Lynx gas turbine engines run on sustainable aviation fuel. As Rich goes around the display circuit both here and in mainland Europe, where this aeroplane is an absolutely stunning attraction wherever it goes. Here he is, back on the knife edge. What a spectacle. And on top of his wings, as he goes into another hover. Well have seen the name of Richard's title sponsor, which is Aerobatic. long-standing supporters of various acts on the display circuit. They provide flight data monitoring and flight operation quality assurance systems. And with that final bout of hovering concludes an absolutely stunning